By Charles Soludo. My attention has been drawn to some of the tirades on social media following my frank response during an interview on Channels TV regarding the investments Mr. Peter Obi claimed to have made with Anambra state revenues. Sadly, several of the comments left the issue of the interview to probe or suggest motives, inferred from my response on investment that I am opposed to Peter Obi's ambition and therefore committed a crime for which the punishment is internecine abuse and harassment even in my family. Some people even suggest that the gunman who went to attack a checkpoint at my hometown on Saturday 12 November but were gunned down was part of the mob reaction. I used to think that for decent people, certain conducts are off-limits, and that in Anambra, politics is not warfare. Of course, as a Christian, I know that telling the truth can be very costly, even suicidal. Our Lord and Savior was crucified simply for telling the truth the people did not want to hear. I promise that I won't be the usual politician, and will not knowingly lie to the people. I am not an angel, but rather than knowingly repeat the same deceitful character that politicians are known for, I would leave public office. It is a vow I made to my God and to my family. Only God knows how many days I will be on this seat, but whether I am on it or not, I will always say it as it is, knowing fully the suicidal consequences of telling the truth in a political arena, especially in a country where lying and deceit by politicians have become culture and celebrated as being smart. Ideally, I should just have laughed off the infantile exuberances as many friends advised. I am used to this, having been in the arena for a while. I always reread the quote "The Man in the Arena" by President Theodore Roosevelt, 1910, to remind myself of the burden of public office. Several well-meaning Nigerians and Igbo called to advise that I should just ignore them. A respected Igbo elder statesman who called, advised that I should just ignore what he described as Peter Obi and his social media mob. According to him, everyone knows that he is going nowhere, but they are looking for who to blame. After some 20 minutes of discussion, he advised that I should personally author a response, just for the records. Everyone knows that I don't follow the winds nor one to succumb to bullies, nor shy away from a good fight, especially when weighty matters of principles and future of the people are involved. One lesson I learned from my former boss and mentor, President Obasanjo, is never to be on the fence. I learned that one must always take a stand, for better or for worse. I do so with every sense of humility, and leave history to judge. Most people have commended me for tactfully avoiding being drawn into the Peter Obi issue until now. Since I am now being forced into the arena on this matter, I have a duty and a right of reply, if only for the records, and to also give the social media mob something substantive to rant upon and rain their abuses for weeks. In this preliminary response, there are some things I will refrain from saying here because, in the end, February/March 2023 will come and go, and life will continue. At the outset, let me state that this exhibition of desperation, intolerance, and attempt to bully everyone who expresses the slightest of dissent is reprehensible. This is Hitler in the making. When the revered Archbishop Chukwuma stated that in Enugu State, they were not obedient, he was ferociously bullied on social media. Any dissent is tagged a saboteur, or, in my case, it could be that I want to contest for president after office or that I am envious of Peter Obi. Soludo envious of Peter Obi? Totally laughable. But this is the same person I was asking to return to UPA in March 2022 and contest for president, and yet envious or doesn't want him to be president. This is madness. Seriously speaking, the obdurate attempt to muscle the Republican Igbos to maintain the silence of the graveyard is antithetical to everything Igbo. It is not who we are. Insulting other ethnic groups and religions or denigrating others is certainly not the path to Oso Rock. If this is not checked, it may indeed endanger the future political and economic interests of the Igbos. In his time, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe was the undisputed all-time leader of the Igbos, but he had his arch-rivals and even independent candidates won landslide elections against his party, NCNC, in Igboland. Obafemi Awolowo had stiff opposition among the Yorubas, while Amadou Bello had his share of opponents in the northern region. Today, no one has accused Afenifere or other strong presidential candidates from the southwest of being anti-Yoruba because Tinubu is a frontrunner, nor has anyone accused Kwankwaso and several other northern candidates of being anti-North for not supporting Atiku. As a full-blooded Republican Igbo man and Democrat, I reject this despotic intolerance. Yes, I fully understand the anger of some urban and diaspora youths and some Nigerians who are dissatisfied with the trajectory of the country or with the candidates of the major parties and wished other options. Not knowing much about others, some see Peter Obi as the contrast they wished for. I get the point. But this is a democracy. The minority will have their say, but the majority their way. Translating anger and social media agitation into political outcomes requires humongous work. For full disclosure, let me state that Peter Obi and I are not just friends, we call ourselves brothers. But we have political differences. He left UPA for PDP after his tenure as governor, while I have remained in UPA since 2013. During the last two governorship elections in Anambra in 2017 and 2021, he led the PDP campaigns, but UPA won landslide in both elections. By the way, in 2016, he visited and proposed that I defect to PDP and contest the 2017 election against the incumbent Willie Obiano, but I declined. After my victory in November 2021, he called to congratulate me as I did to him in 2010. That is the Anambra way. We fight fiercely during campaigns but share drinks at the next social events. After all, it was the great Zik of Africa who taught us that in politics, there are no permanent friends or permanent enemies but only permanent interests. We sat next to each other during the Emeka Enioku lecture at Nnamdi Azikiwe University on 8 March 2022, and I made an offer for him to return to UPA and contest as its presidential candidate. Yes, I did. In my mind, it was time for Igbos to organize their region politically before stepping out to bargain power with other organized coalitions. On his part, he tried to convince me that he expected APC to unravel while PDP would be the only one standing. We debated and he proposed that we could meet later to discuss further. He attended my inauguration on March 17. A few weeks later, he requested and I obliged him to use the Anambra State Government House facility to launch his presidential bid under PDP. I was surprised to read in the news later that he had defected to LP, a party with literally zero structure, thereby attempting to weaken the same PDP he saw as the savior a few weeks earlier. He paid me a courtesy call as the presidential candidate of LP, and we had frank discussions. During our meeting, I reminded him of my proposal to him to come and contest under UPA. More importantly, I told him, possibly to his surprise, that I did not make the proposal in the belief that he will win in 2023 but that it would give us the opportunity to get our people organized as a bargaining force, with him leading the effort since I was busy as governor. My immediate predecessor, Willie Obiano, had indicated to me that he was not disposed to contest an election. We noted that we were in opposing political parties, and in response to my direct question as to how I might help him, he requested that I should just ensure a level playing field and let the people decide. In fidelity, my government has provided the atmosphere for him and his supporters to operate freely in Anambra without any molestation, compare with treatments to LP even in other southeast states, and allowed his billboards, which are, in many places, wrongly placed almost on the roads. As a person, I have several shortcomings, but being petty is not one of them. We have shown him tremendous goodwill, which he did not extend to the same Labour Party when he was governor. Senator Ifeanyi Uba, as LP governorship candidate in 2013, was denied the use of Ekweme Square for his rallies. Someone reminded me that a mob has no head and hence cannot reason. The same Peter Obi was one of those who told Nigbo that UPA was the vehicle through which Igbos would organize to engage the rest of Nigeria politically. He was said to have sworn to Ojukwu and publicly that he would quit politics the day he leaves UPA. The rest is history. When he was the vice presidential candidate under PDP in 2019, the emotive train then dubbed the ticket the Igbo Project. As then chairman of Planning and Strategy Committee of Ahanis Ndigbo Worldwide, I cautioned for a more pragmatic approach, but the emotive blaze of the time held sway. We were vindicated afterwards. By the way, UPA is Nigeria's third largest political party today. After APC and PDP, it is the only other party with a state governor and third largest presence at the National Assembly. And some people have the temerity to suggest that UPA's candidate should step down for Peter Obi as the Igbo candidate. I wonder when Igbos met to choose a candidate. They even argue that after all UPA supported President Jonathan and did not field a candidate then. Well, the fact, as I was told, was that no candidate showed interest under UPA then. Besides, UPA's unwritten rule then was to support the party at the center, which, if we apply this time, should actually be APC. But we have our own candidate. Recall that all the political parties had their primaries during the same period. Once Peter Obi realized that he won't get the presidential or vice presidential ticket of PDP, he ran to Labour Party, a political party known as a transit camp for aspirants who lost primaries in APC, PDP and UPGA, and the chorus by a vociferous minority now is that LP has become the Igbo project, and the UPGA candidate who emerged the same time as Peter Obi should step down. Ridiculous. Now I truly understand that a mob cannot reason. When will Ndigbo understand and learn politics, especially of Nigeria? When Bola Ahmed Tinubu defied the political wind of the time and stood out as the only man standing in AD and later AC, before ACN, against the sitting president of Yoruba descent, no one accused him of being anti-Yoruba. Indeed, everyone recalls that both Tinubu and President Obasanjo disagreed politically, and probably still disagree, but none is being accused of being anti-Yoruba. Under Tinubu, the Southwest strategically organized under a different political party, the ACN, and went into a formidable alliance that kicked out a sitting president in Africa? And that alliance is not broken yet. Igbos, in their frenzied Nzogbu politics, have sadly found themselves in a political cul-de-sac. Tragic indeed. When will my people smell the morning coffee? Let me now address the substance of my response during the interview, and I stand by what I said. On record, I doubt that any governor in Nigeria has paid as much tribute to his predecessors as I have done during campaigns and in office. I always said that all of them did well and to the best of their abilities. Yes, Peter Obi was governor for 8 years, 2006 to 2014, during a period of unprecedented oil boom and prosperity in Nigeria. Nigerian economy was growing an average of 6 to 8% per annum, and oil price was highest during this time. I have seen all kinds of funny comments and interpretations regarding what I said about the value of his investments. Some refer to Sab Miller and bandy all kinds of figures as to how the investment of $12 million is now worth less than $3 million. Of course, there is room for legitimate debate about the logic or quality of the investments. For example, people might differ as to the propriety of using taxpayers' money to promote a company in which one is a shareholder in the name of investment, or even whether so-called savings are warranted when there were dozens of schools without roofs or classrooms, or local governments without access roads or hospitals without doctors/nurses. A bishop recently publicly advised that I should please try to construct the Nij type of quality roads, stating that the ones done by his successor, that is, Peter Obi, had washed off, while Nij's remained. I promised, and we are delivering quality roads that Anambra has not seen before. For sure, prudence in public resource management is desirable, and we are opening new frontiers in that area. People will, however, differ as to whether saving money in the bank account is a KPI, key performance indicator, for a government where poverty is escalating except where its institutions for absorption are weak or where the government has no robust/big agenda for transformation. Governments exist to save lives, not to save money. We can debate and differ on this, by the way. I know when/how it is appropriate to save, as I built Nigeria's foreign reserves from $10 billion I inherited to all-time $63 billion, and even after paying $12 billion to pay off Nigeria's external debt and going through unprecedented global financial crisis, I still left behind about $45 billion. Go and verify. Funny, in the rabid frenzy to grab every straw, they cut a clip during our governorship debate where I was stating vital statistics, and they claimed that I was praising Peter Obi then while committing a crime now by criticizing him. Ha 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 ha. Well, it is true that I said during the debate that, according to National Bureau of Statistics, poverty in Anambra actually grew from less than 25% in 2005 to about 53% under Peter Obi in 2010-2011, but fell under Willie Obiano to 14.78% in 2020. Yes, poverty more than doubled under Peter Obi, and more than 50% of Ni Anambra were in poverty under him. Go and verify. I am governor, and sitting on privileged information which I will not want to use against a political opponent. But on matters of facts, I will always state same as is. As the saying goes, you can fool some of the people some of the time, but never all the people all the time. Enough said for now. Where do we go from here? I listened to my friend Gov El Rufai on TV explaining why the northern governors decided that power should shift to the south. According to him, they asked themselves what would their founding fathers, Amadou Bello, Tafawa Balewa or Aminu Kano have done in the circumstance. Today, I ask my people, Bindigbo, do we ask what Azikiwe or Emi Akpara or Akanu Ibiam would do in the present circumstance? I worry that Igbo, as Nigeria's foremost itinerant tribe and with the greatest stake in the Nigerian project, does not yet have a strategy to engage Nigeria, politically. Every 4 years, we resurface with emotive Nzogbu political dance. It is our turn dance but without organization or strategy, and fizzle out afterwards while others work 24/7 strategizing and organizing. Let's be clear, Peter Obi knows that he can't and won't win. He knows the game he is playing, and we know too, and he knows that we know. The game he is playing is the main reason he didn't return to Upka. The brutal truth, and some will say, God forbid, is that there are 2 persons/parties seriously contesting for president, the rest is exciting drama. That many Americans may not like the fact that Joe Biden, 79 years, and Donald Trump, 76 years, are 2 frontrunners for president in their parties does not remove the fact that if both of them emerge as candidates, definitely one of them will be president in 2024. As my brother, I wish him well and even pray for him. I told him during his courtesy call that my prayer is that himself or Professor Umedi of Upka would win. Why not? That is from my heart, but I also told him that my head and facts on the ground led me to know that its probability is next to 0. What I cannot say before you, I won't say behind you. So I already told him my opinion. Indeed, there is no credible pathway for him near the first 2 positions, and if care is not taken, he won't even near the 3rd position. Analysts tell him you don't need structure to win. Fantasy. Of course, LP won governorship elections in Ekiti and Osun on social media and via fandom polls, while getting barely 2,000 votes on ground. Creating a credible third force for presidential election in Nigeria requires a totally different strategy and extreme hard work. Of course, Peter Obi will get some votes, and may probably win in Anambra State, as homeboy. But Anambra is not Nigeria. If he likes, I can even campaign for him, but that won't change much. From internal state-by-state polling available to me, he was on course to get 25% in 5 states as of August this year. The latest polling shows that it is down to 4 states, and declining. Not even in Lagos State, supposed headquarters of urban youths, where Labour Party could not find candidates to contest for House of Reps or Senate. The polls also show that he is taking votes away mostly from PDP. Indeed, if I were Asiwaju Tinubu, I would even give Peter Obi money as someone heading one of the departments of his campaign, because Obi is making Tinubu's pathway to victory much easier by indirectly pulling down PDP. It is what it is. The current fleeting frenzy, if not checked, will cost Igbo dearly for years. The Southeast has the lowest number of votes of any region, but it is also the only region where the presidential race might be a 4-way race. It is a 2-way race in the other 5 regions, thereby ensuring that our votes won't count in the making of the next president of Nigeria. Afterwards, we would start complaining that we don't get what we deserve or cry of marginalization. During the 2019 presidential election, the 5 Southeast states were united for PDP but contributed merely 1.6 million votes to PDP, which was about the votes that Kano State gave to Buhari. The emotions might run to heavens, but politics power is about cold calculations, organization, and building alliances for power. In a democracy, it is a game of numbers. So far, I don't see any of these, and 2023 might again be a wasted opportunity for Ndigbo. What is our plan B when Peter Obi loses in February 2023? Some people prefer that we should play the ostrich while Peter Obi toys with the collective destiny of over 60 million Igbos. Yes, you pray that he wins, but what if he fails, as he is certain to? The Bible says that my people perish for lack of knowledge. As the saying goes, only those who plan can control the future. Ndigbo, wake up and smell the coffee. What would Zik of Africa or Miapara do in this circumstance? Our founding fathers understood that in politics, you don't get what you deserve but what you bargain/negotiate, and you negotiate with your organization and votes. Not social media militancy or bullying, where over 90% of actual voters are not on social media. Our fathers built alliances with other major political parties in other regions, not with sociocultural groups that don't command any votes, and Ndigbo were in the reckoning in the First and Second Republics. After the elections, we will see how many votes any of the leaders of the sociocultural groups will get for Peter Obi from their wards. Sometimes I even sense a conspiracy to nudge us on a path to nowhere, thereby further pushing us into irrelevance, and I pray that I am wrong. Just my 2 cents. It is not too late for Ahanis Ndigbo and progressive Igbo leaders to preemptively start charting a pragmatic future for Ndigbo in Nigeria after the elections. Armchair social media analysts can have the luxury of fantasizing with wild speculations. Right or wrong, they earn their pay and with no consequences. For us as leaders, the lives of tens of millions are at stake. We have a historic duty to act, and being silent or politically correct is not an option. For starters, Ahanis should study the report of my committee, Planning and Strategy, in 2019. It may still be relevant today. Second, Ndigbo should seriously study the Mo signed at the Yar'Adua Center in 2010. The leader of Igbo Political Association, Chief Simon Okeke, and our members are still there. Thirdly, and for me, Ndigbo should strategize and bargain, especially with the two candidates likely to be president, on at least 4 central issues. A. Lasting peace and security in the Southeast, including the release and engagement with Nnamdi Kanu. B. Southeast Economic Transformation Agenda and the FGN's Marshall Plan for the Southeast as promised since the end of the Civil War, the post-war reconstruction. We appreciate the second Niger Bridge and recent contract for Mountain to reconstruct the Onitsha-Enugu Expressway. But the rail lines to the 5 state capitals, speedy access to the sea, highways linking southeast to the north and south-south, addressing our existential threat as gully erosion capital of Africa, free trade, and export processing zones, etc. C. Restructuring agenda for Nigeria that devolves powers/resources to the subnational entities, and in which it would no longer matter where the president comes from. D. Leveling the playing field for the unleashing of the private sector and the full participation of Ndigbo in the economic and governance space, etc. To conclude, let me once again wish my brother Peter Obi good luck. He should have fun and enjoy the fleeting frenzy of the moment. But he must moderate the desperation as exhibited by his social media mob. There is a limit to propaganda. A mob action often reflects the character of its leader. No one has a monopoly of social media violence, and no one should play God. Life won't end by February/March 2023. I hope that after February 2023, Peter Obi will return to UPGA, the party that made him everything he is politically, as I offered him on 8 March 2022, and begin the hard work, if he truly wants to be president of Nigeria. It won't happen by desperately jumping from one party to another or by unleashing a social media mob on everyone who slightly disagrees with you. I decided to pen my views personally, again for the records. On this, I don't mind being a one-man minority. As history beckons, my conscience and sense of duty to my people dictate that I should never be silent. I will happily accept the judgment of history for standing by the truth. At Views Exclusive Rights, Charles Chukwuma Soludo, Governor, Anambra State, 14 November, 2022, in a post tagged History Beckons and I Will Not Be Silent Part 1. Greater than O. Greater than now I grab. Greater than no lele na. Greater than make him wait again, if Peter Obi rule finish and Yusuf Daddy, den Sawar, den we can consider him. Greater than. Greater than Good Paul, at Gut Paul, November 14, 2022. Greater than Peter Obi's investments in Anambra isn't worth next to nothing. That's an unwise statement from Soludo. Any investment in a state that profits the people, no matter how small, is worth celebrating. I get Soludo is trying to play politics, but he shouldn't trade his credibility. Greater than. Greater than Daniel Rega, at Daniel Rega, November 10, 2022.